Alright, welcome back to another Starcraft stream. This is The Rush, the first time we have done The Rush, because I don't often play 3v3s or 4v4s as much as I play 2s, and so these are a couple games that I played recently. I want to show to you and see what you think about them. I also am testing to make sure that this computer is working right with this microphone and everything. I had some problems recently, I think because I tried a different mic. So we will see. So let's jump into this game. So you see here, Mick Red Ghost, Mick Ringerill, and Mick Gripill. So there's Mick Red Ghost up here in the top left. And then Mick Ringerill, a blue Zerg. Mick Red Ghost is a red Terran. And then we've got Mick Gripill, a teal Protoss up here. And I've got some different teammates than you might be used to. Down here is me, the purple Terran, Ransom. And down here, an orange Zerg named Pizerk. And up here, a yellow Zerg by the name of Grunt Grunt. Now that is G-R-A-U-N-T, G-R-O-N-T. I'm sure he would want you to get that right. So that's Grunt Grunt. Now this is called The Rush because if you've ever played or even seen team games in StarCraft 2, then I would think you are aware that they are rushes, and generally either you are rushing, or you're being rushed, or you are both rushing. If you're not the one rushing, you're usually the one dying. So this is called The Rush. We're going to go, this team and most players that I play with will do some sorts of ridiculous rushes. So you see here, this is called Macro Reaper out of me. I have built 2 barracks with reactors. I am very obviously making Reapers to the probe that just scouted me. Since Pizerk has not taken an expansion, or at least he took one really late, excuse me, that means they know he's rushing. And then I believe Grunt Grunt did a little bit more of a economical build, but he has a really aggressive build that he's planning to do too. So we just made a plan on where we're going to attack, and that is right up here at this point. This blue Zerg put his expansion. Whoa, these guys are not rushing, so he did 2 hatcheries here. No one has taken the back expansion until Mick Red Ghost, and as you see, our attack has already commenced, and so we have 7 Reapers, 7 Roaches, 14 Zerglings out of Grunt Grunt, and then 18 Zerglings and 5 Roaches out of Pizerk, and we are bullying back the other team. The important thing here is to stay together. What would be ideal for us is if all of our opponents got really nervous about this attack and then all came at us from one side and we were able to maximize what we could get out of our units. These units work pretty well together. Roaches are very tanky. Reapers have decent DPS, especially since I have +1 already. But a very bad thing has happened. Our third teammate has gotten hung up, especially against these Blue Flame Hellions, which are going to crush his Zerglings, and then all of their Zerglings kill his Roaches, and so now we're in a very bad position because there are 3 armies versus our 2 armies, and though we have some decent units against them, we don't have the numbers anymore, and we have gotten crushed. So the supplies now for them, 51, 36, 28 versus 40, 26, 25. So they're up maybe 10 supply overall. Our army did get really crushed, and we don't have the opportunity to transition because they're doing what they should do, which is counter across the map. This combination right here is extremely powerful in team games. Zerglings plus any kind of Hellions, much less blue flame Hellions. So I knew I had to keep building Reapers because they were going to come at us. And if you're careful with Reapers, you can still kind of trade well, but you're not going to be able to trade well against siege tanks. Siege tanks do 40 damage versus any kind of unit. Versus armored units, they do 70 damage per shot. Reapers have 60 hit points, so you can know for certain that Reapers cannot stand in light of siege tank fire. So I want this base to stay, but I know I'm not going to be able to keep it, so I'm about to pull back. My partners, the build that they do in a lot of ways is kind of an all-in because they spend so much money on those early armies, and they've had to drone a little bit and get some more workers, but as a result the army supply is just not there for them. You see that Red here has 70 supply himself, and that's 29 supplies in his workers. So he has 40 army supply and really solid 40 army supply when it's blue flame Hellions plus siege tanks. And he's playing smart, walking some tanks in, sieging, scanning. Meanwhile, I thought they were keeping us hemmed in on the other side. Yes, they are. So these Zerglings are going to make sure we don't do a counterattack. They're keeping track of all our units and doing damage there while doing damage here. We don't have units that can deal with this at all. See, Berserk is losing. Roach's mortal enemy at this stage of the game is these siege tanks. So he can, McRed Ghost can, little by little, this is a little bit aggressive what he's doing here to unsiege all the tanks at once. Berserk just tries to come in, but that is a nightmare for Roaches right there. So now Berserk's base is being laid siege to. I'm going to take another base. I have run across the map trying to get some sort of damage done. This was, in my judgment, the best thing I could do. So I've brought their Protoss down to 21 probes. Meanwhile, I'm getting shelled. Grunt's doing a good job of at least slowing them. I'm not paying attention to my worker line, it looks like, so I'm losing way too many workers, trying to kill their workers. He ran his probes. I did knock down some of his pylons, but I am down to 12 workers right now, and I'm not running these others. Now, I've hidden a base up here in the top right, and I've got a base landing there, and I've got this base here. So I have lifted that now, and Grunt did a fantastic job. He waited till the moment that he could pounce, and he has crushed this. Meanwhile, I'm over here doing damage to McRed Ghost, taking him down to one worker. That worker right there, and do I get it? I did get it. He's down to 0 workers. So this has brought the game to within striking distance for us. So their blue Zerg has 49 workers, but he represents the lion's share of their workers by a lot. My Reapers are 1-1, and I have 13 of them. I'm trying to do as much damage as possible, and I get a lot of damage. So this has brought the game certainly playable. Let's look at supplies. Yeah, Red is down to 24 supply. I'm at 21, so we're even. This blue Zerg is at 84, McRingeril. Let's call him Ring. So he's at 90, and Grunt's at 84. So they're about matched. And then Gripil and Berserker are very close. So this game is really tight. The thing that is really dangerous right now is that the tech for this red Terran is very dangerous. He doesn't have a lot of army, but he can certainly accomplish something. These Cyclones, and even though there's just 2 tanks, he has enough of an army to create trouble. So basically, if Grunt can't keep track of their armies, then we're in big trouble. I still have a few Reapers, but I'm not going to be able to stand against, not at all, against this many Hydras. And if he's careful like this, it's going to be really hard for Grunt to get a good engagement, especially 2 armies together like this. Yes, Grunt has to back up. he has to back up, and unfortunately he's not going to be able to hold this rich base. Oh, so that's tough, and he rightly sacrifices that. So we really need myself or Pizurk to get back in the game, and Pizurk, he has one saturated base. I have quite a few bases, but I've been bullied away from the map, and I'm probably not going to be able to hold this base. These Hydralisks are just a very solid army. You're going to see that Grunt is not really going to be able... ooh, yes, those biles right there were the game changer for him. Pizurk, I thought that was Pizurk. That was not. Pizurk probably doesn't have an army right now. So Grunt got the most out of his units. I was probably trying to harass some, and I came to help. So Grunt did a great job of microing there, and that did allow me to hold this base. So if I can get back in this game, which is possible, I have 4 bases right now. I've had to reset all my mining, and the game's all over the place as far as where my bases are. Grunt's taking this base down here. These games are great, these kind of team games, because they're so unpredictable and really hard to assess. So we kind of felt a little bit behind still, and really it's probably even. Ooh, no. Wow, this blue Zerg has done a great job of getting how many workers? He never lost too many workers, and he's at 73. That's the worst thing for us right now. The blue Zerg didn't lose very many workers when I countered on them, and so he's so strong. He has so much army to work with already, and such an economy. Everybody else lost economy except for him. So that's the story of the game right now. And what he's doing, this is not an impressive army as far as it's not well-rounded, just relying on Hydras like he's doing, especially not having upgrades here at 1255 when he's not lost a whole lot. So he's just relying on trying to get a lot of army out, but it's just a complete oversight on his part to not have... Yeah, those 2 evolution chambers should have been down a long time ago. We'll see if he has to pay for that or not. But these are... Hydralisks are the Marines of Zerg, except for they're a little easier to work with because they have 90 hit points. So he looks like he's going to walk across the map and do some damage to us. Let's see if I have made a good transition. I have 16 Marines and 2 medevacs. I got my Reapers caught there. I think I saw this army coming, so I lifted that base. So Grunt and I are going to try to stand against this army, but we know it's too big, so I lift that base again. And this is just not an army that we can deal with. The Zerg supply alone is really dangerous, and again they're doing the same maneuver. 2 armies are over here, and we can't really deal with those 2 armies, while this Terran is over here, and he's careful with his tanks flanking. So I've had to lift that base up, and this Terran is keeping us in on the one side, while this other large army hems us in on the other side. And our big problem right now is we know they have more bases than us, and we can't do anything about it. So, excuse me, Grunt and I try to bust out. We're getting some solid damage from our army composition plus this tank up here, but we're not getting enough. This guy morphs these lurkers right in front of us. It's not a great move. Now, lurkers have, I think, 3 shields while they are morphing, and so we can't kill these. This Protoss is kind of his saving grace. We try to take down those lurkers, but there's so many of them that they're dangerous. That was a pretty good trade for us. We got down the ramp. We had siege tanks backing us up, but again, they were so far ahead. You can see that it was a decent trade. This Zerg is down to 88 supply. Grunt's ahead of him at the moment, 95 supply. I'm at 73. But again, overcoming that economic disadvantage, so difficult, especially while damage was being done over here. Apparently not that much damage. So we need to get out and we need to take bases right now. Right now. And so we'll see if we can do that. Red Ghost is being careful, keeping back Grunt over here and just hemming him in. I'm going to do a big drop right on top of these tanks. I should be able to take them out. Yeah, Grunt comes to help. So that's good. We're going to bust out there. Looks like... Oh, there's... Berserk is taken. 2 ninja bases over here. But it looks like Ring over here has backed off. And then we take out that army. So we're pretty well back in this game again. Because so much damage was done to Red. And then his army has died. And he will not be able to replenish that very quickly. Blue, the Ring, the blue Zerg is the dangerous one. Now this push is huge for us right now. If we can do damage, and this is the one I was talking about too. This is Ring. If we can do damage to them, then that really will put us solidly back in the game. But this surround right here, oh, that's 7 lurkers, and then on this other side, this Patience, just not losing his army, means we got immediately pushed back. And you can see the supply now. 89, 90, and 80, so that's about 250. And these two alone have 260, so they're about 310 supply. Lack of solid economy is still the story in this game. Lack of solid economy means a smaller army. It means worse upgrades. My upgrades are decent given how tough the game has gone for me. Grunt's still stuck on 1-1. Don't have anything for the mech, but I have 2-2 on the bio. And now this base just got found. I mined probably more than 3/4 of the minerals off that. I had that a long time. So again, I don't have a solid economy. If I can manage to even hold, I lost that base Grunt. If I had sheer control, he could mine from that. He's going to kill it, though. I hadn't realized that was up there. I have just not had a solid economy, and so I'm probably not going to be able to hold. And we're probably about to get pushed back again, because they have done a great job in terms of aggression this game. I mean, though they've kind of attacked separately a lot, since we have been pushed back so much, we can't do a lot about it. You see that Ring is now maxed out. Grip has 132 supply. So they are kind of attacking alone, which is not a great strategic thought, but they have the supply to do it. This game is all over the place. Ring's going to push in here and make sure we don't get these bases. And this game is rapidly getting out of our control. So between this army, now you have Red in here. He's not done well as far as his upgrades, and then catching his whole army on siege like that was enormous. In any other situation, this would be a game-winning move. And this is incredible. We're about to crush this army, but again, the aggression at the same time. Grunt is losing his natural expansion. He's being brought down to no bases, not one base. I mean, we're not going to count this as a base. He's brought down to no bases. So it looks like the army that we have has to win the game. We're going to try to catch this army and collapse on it the same way we did for Blue, but he gets away, and that Protoss is now the leader in supply. He's at 170 supply. Let's check his upgrades. He's still at 0-0, so that's giving us a chance. We're going to come over here. We're going to try to get them out of these bases. We get that Red base killed. So Red is back to like a half a base. But still yet, Blue has had so much economy for so long. He's now gotten up to 2-2. So his upgrades have caught up. I'm at 3-2. But supplies. Grunt's down to 75. Both of our Zergs are hovering around 70. I have 100. They have 2 players that have 160 supply. And then you have Red, who's mostly not a factor. Pizurk has switched to mutas, which are great if you can keep him moving around the map and create chaos, but he ran into some units that mutas are awful against, and that's pretty much going to spell the end of the game for him. I'm trying to push back this Zerg. These lurkers are so strong against a bio army. So the game just looks worse and worse for us the longer it goes. I like the backstabs from Pizurk. All the action is down here on this bottom left side, so to stab back like this is just great. It makes them have to look around, have to move around. Blue's going to try to push in on me, and it's probably not going to be advantageous for him. They're not extremely efficient fights, but the problem is I don't have an economy to back this up. I am finally, I've got a couple of solid bases here, but look at how he can replenish. I'm going to push this back. Whoa, whoa, oh no, oh no, oh no, the drone deaths. So many drones giving their life today. And he's just keeping on pushing in. Keeping on pushing in, and I'm going to lose that base. I should have lifted or repaired that or both. So he has 112 supply, and I'm down to 77. I just haven't had the economy. It looks like there was, it looks like we almost lost somebody there. One of their players, I believe, had gotten timed out for a minute. This Protoss is so solid now. Got 1-1. He's going to kill my base. Repair it, man. Another non-repair for me. Grunt's trying to fight. We want to fight back. This army is way too much. I believe I lifted all my SCVs into these into these medevacs. I'm running into opponent's armies. I get a medevac killed there. I'm trying to find somewhere to stay alive. Grunt's running. This game is not looking good for us. Still almost no upgrades for the Red Terran there. But we tried in this one. We gave it our all. This is what's fun about team games. There's so much action going on. It looks like, speaking of action down here, Ring is killing off Pizurk. We tried to stay in this game, but we have nothing left, really. I believe I just dropped off some happy SCVs to mine, trying to die as slow as possible, but the supplies up here tell the story. This one got out of our hands. Doing that Terran thing of lifting and moving. But meanwhile, well, somehow this base died. That's good. Meanwhile, Grunt has not rebuilt their base and it's being revealed. Look at this. Look at this Terran wall. True Terran fashion, holding out as long as possible. Pizurk has not rebuilt their base and it's being revealed. There's the GG, and that game got away from us. So let's look at one more. We didn't get to play too many, but let's see one more game and how it goes for us. Augustine Fall, LE. Same team, Ransom, Grunt, and Pizurk. Alright, so down here, I'm a Red Terran this time. I am the Red Terran. Ransom. Grunt will be the Blue Zerg this time. And then the Teal Zerg, Pizurk. You're going to see a different opening out of us. It will be a rush. Fear not, it will be a rush. But we will not be making the same units. So Pizurk always tells me that it worries him when he sees players saying good luck and other such things at the beginning of a match, because he knows they have the actions per minute to be dedicating to that, while he worries that he does not. So for his sake, I put in a whole bunch of good lucks so that it would make him feel better about somebody on his team having the APM actions per minute to be doing that. So we'll see if it does make him feel better here. I believe each of them are pretty much doing the same build. I am going to open Hellions, and as I said earlier, you're either rushing or you're dead in team games, and both teams are going to rush. So this is a fast Zergling rush out of Coaster Board. Oh, I don't think I introduced these guys. So a yellow Zerg Coaster Board, and then here is a purple Terran Balboa and an orange Protoss T-Sisson. Let's just call him TC. So this is a fast rush. We've got Zerglings out of Coaster Board. Quite a few Zerglings. And then I believe I just got one of my Hellions caught. There is Zealots out of TC. Grant's going to fight them. That's just a one-on-one battle there. And then my Hellions are going to run into TC's Stalkers, along with, what is that, Reapers out of Balboa. Now, Hellions are great against Zerglings, especially in these numbers that I have. They're bad against Stalkers. They're good against Reapers. So as long as we can get a good engagement, get the right units fighting the right units, we'll do fine. But down here at the bottom, Berserk had lost his units, and so Grunt and I are once again just losing some stuff. There's Berserk's units. So we are getting together a little, not at first, but in the second round here, we're going to get together. Where are my Hellions? Looks like I had to run back because the Reapers had rushed in. Now my Blue Flame has kicked in, and so that means with a little bit of support I can fight these Stalkers a little bit. So with Berserk's help, he's got a few roaches here. He's got 12 roaches. Now I told him I was going to follow him, and then I got distracted by these Zerglings, so he's over here fighting by himself. And by the time I come in, he's lost most of his stuff. So this is a game where we all are trying to be together, but not accomplishing it that much, and so that makes it a very brutal game. A lot of blood on the floor in this game. Those tanks, similar to the last game where our opponents were making tanks. The tanks are going to start pushing us back, especially with this many Stalkers. That's a lot of Stalkers for this stage of the game. That's 15 Stalkers. So we're going to need something dangerous, some kind of counter, because the units we've had are not going to be good against this composition. And thankfully I saw that coming a few minutes ago, that there was some bad stuff happening, and I'm about to have Banshees. Now Banshees can cloak, which is a pretty major tech switch. And Grunt is doing the right thing here. This is a solid move for our team. He is letting his roaches die, but he's dying as efficiently as possible, and we're pushing this group back. Now, especially when this cloak kicks in for these Banshees, there's not a lot that any of their units can do. Now, that's a scan, but by the time he gets that scan out, I've already killed most of their anti-air and the Stalkers, and he's going to try to hold against our ground units with these tanks, but you're going to see that with those Stalkers dead, he's got to run away. And I'm building Hellions as well as Banshees, and that means I have a unit that's good against every unit on the field, with the exception of Stalkers. Banshees, if you get high numbers versus Stalkers, are pretty good against Stalkers, but you usually can't outnumber them like we have. But we caught the whole team off guard, especially the Stalkers. So that puts us in the driver's seat of this game. So we're going to post at the front, keep their units back, while this number of Banshees is going to do a lot of damage up here. I have right now 8 Banshees. I tech switched to 3 starports, so you can get a lot of Banshees out really quick. Berserker's going to come up here. I believe we all just dispersed for a minute. Oh yeah, because probably that was a Zergling run by. Zealot, sorry, a Zealot run by. So that Protoss base died, and there was such a dedication to that early push that, wow, this Protoss at the 950 mark has one base. Look at how many minerals are already mined out from it. And he cannot replenish at any sort of rate. He's done a really odd thing. You can see on the mini-map here that he had a gateway here on the right side. He has another gateway here on the left side. He has a gateway behind his mineral line and then a gateway here. So that was kind of a 4-gate. I believe it was a 4-gate from him. Extremely aggressive build, and it did not pay off ultimately. So he's in really bad shape. You can see as far as the active forces, the army supply for him, his overall supply is 20. Meanwhile, their Terran is at 101. I'm at 125. Grunt is at 85, and Berserk is at 49. Meanwhile, their players are at 29 and 20. So we're going to post at the front, but that high army supply out of their Terran, he's doing a thing you see Terrans do every now and then. He's not really working early on getting upgrades for his Marines. All he's trying to do is get a lot of tanks out and then post them to defend and keep us back. Now, Banshees can take out tanks, but this amount of Marines, even without stim, is so dangerous. So he's doing the right thing. I'm going to stick and move, but he keeps scanning because he has enough orbital commands to keep regularly scanning. Let's see how many scans he has now. He used another scan there, so he still has 3 more scans. So I would like to kill his tanks, and I'm going to kill some of his tanks, but I can't fight that many Marines. That is a page and a half of Marines. So, have a lot of Banshees. But here's where I put together. I see these missile turrets. I see the amount of Marines, and I realize this game is going to go on a little while longer. So, I'm going to plop down a few more factories here in just a moment. Here's where we find that next gateway, and we start keeping map control, kind of trying to determine if there are other bases around the map and looking to contain them and move on to the next stage. So this is pretty fun. We have pushed them back, and we are in a great position at this point in the game. We have map control, we have fast units, we have better army supply, we've killed a lot of their armies, as well as I know I've done economic damage. Now, an encounter like that, where I get a couple things, but then I'm just losing a lot of Banshees. I'm losing Banshees at every time I turn around, so I know I've got to get the next phase going, because they have a solid upfront pushing army, and while Grunt does for us, neither Berserk nor I do. The units that I have are harassment units. One way you can tell that they have low hit points, 140 hit points for the Banshees and 90 hit points for the Hellions. Generally in Starcraft, any units that are fast are going to have low hit points, because fast units are really dangerous. They're built for harassment, so they're not, by definition, are not tanky. This is a mistake out of Coaster Board. See if oh my, that's well done, Grunt. Well done. I salute you, Grunt. You just caught 2 random overlords with your Ravagers. And this is the thing that I think was the main thing on my mind, that why I wanted to transition, is because none of us had much anti-air. Grunt has 10 Hydralisks. That's not going to hold against 16, 20 Mutalisks. And then this siege, Grunt called that we should engage. This was a bad engagement for us. He was right. If we caught it in just the right way, we might have been able to do good damage and slap this down. But my army, I don't know if you noticed how quickly my army died there, but I am now down to 116 supply, and the purple Terran is at 149 supply. And this game has shifted. It's not that Coaster Board has a whole lot of supply. Their supply is basically all in this Terran, all in these tanks. So my transition was a little late, and now I'm going to get overwhelmed with this store. I'm going to get overwhelmed with my siege tanks. I'm going to have to lift this base, and this game actually looks very familiar to the last game. I'm going to have to lift up, not keep the economy I want, and this is a solid army. No upgrades, but this amount of tanks is so dangerous. 16 tanks. All these Marines do is keep other armies back. Now, Grunt did a great job of catching the Unsiege out of Balboa here, but this is a solid army, and I am behind on having a solid army. So I'm getting these Liberators that are good at pushing back. I'm getting these Thors to deal with the Mutalisks. Grunt has the solid army here, and he has to do this. Every time Balboa advances, he has to at least keep this army back, and he is taking shots for it. He's paying for that, but he has to, and he's doing a great job of protecting his base, of keeping an economy himself, because this game is swinging, and if it swings back to where they have an overall better economy than us, that's the name of the game in Starcraft ultimately. Whichever team has the better economy is going to be the winning team. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm trying to get enough tanks to keep this army back and keep it from pressing in on me, and I have just enough to do that. My tanks, I was in the middle of Thor production. I don't have as many tanks as I would like right now. So I really need enough tanks to keep him back, and then some means of pushing back his push, of holding off his push and then pushing it back. And that's what a Banshee or a Liberator does for this mech army. Even one Banshee can push back. It can push back an encroaching Terran. Now this, that was kind of suicidal, but he got a tank, and he's got to keep pushing back, keep holding off this encroaching army. See this, that siege right there is going to be able to hit his hatchery. At this point in the game, Grunt was saying we've got to encroach, we've got to all collapse on this Terran army, and we did. I told him to call it, and he called a great move where we collapse all at once on this army. And with a lack of support, we are able to walk over that army. So now the supplies show that purple Terran is down to 68 supply. Meanwhile, I'm at 87, but Grunt is at 116. Berserk is at 92. Overall, our team is in a really good position. Coaster Board's up here. He and TC are doing damage. Berserk is taking expansion up here, and it's hard for him to defend that. Now since we were hemmed into our base for so long, we really don't know the status of this game. In fact, I can tell you that I felt like we were pretty far behind because we were stuck in our base for at least probably 3 minutes there, and that's really bad. It's really bad in a StarCraft game. A lot can happen in 3 minutes. So any team that is holding you in like that ought to be taking bases themselves. They were ahead, they did a push, it worked, it held us, and they could get more ahead by taking economy. The issue is they really didn't do that enough. So you can see here that TC does have this base, and he's taking this base. Purple could be huge now. He pretty much has the bases that he had. I think he took this one, and that's good for him, and he has a lot of money. Part of the story of this game that I did not know until just now is he had a lot of money, and he did not spend it. Wow. He's his macro. He just needs to work on his macro as a player. So what we did, my army was slow. I really didn't feel that I had the capability to walk across the map. I knew I'd be undefended and vulnerable to backstabs. All these minerals are mined out. I did take this base. I'm about to take this base, and that's huge. I need to have bases because this base is mined out. As a mech player, you always want to be on 3 mining bases, and I am currently on 1, and starting with this one. This gas is a big deal, so these guys just taking a break down here, not great, not what you want. Meanwhile, this is really important at the top. They have chosen to really push in and try to hurt Berserk, and Grunt is doing a great job of keeping Berserk alive and helping to protect his base up here, keeping him in the game. They attacked alone there. The purple Terran did, and I'm down here holding off aggression from TC as well as Coaster Board, who's doing mutas, and these DTs are dangerous, but we're not doing too badly keeping up with them, and our macro is really better than theirs. We didn't know that, but we have, you can look, I can virtually guarantee you we have more workers than them. Grunt has 70, so there's 100 along with Berserk, and 130 versus 80, say 90, and then 50. So they have 10 more workers than us. So I was wrong about that. It's the army supply. It's the army supply that really, that Grunt kept his economy up before, and so he has a pretty massive army supply right now. I'm getting back in the game, and overall our supply is 400 versus our opponent's 250, 320. So that's the story of the game right now, is the consistency of Grunt's macro in this game. The fact that when he got his bases up, he pretty much kept them. I did not, Berserk did not, but that's what makes us so solid. Now this is a very good job out of Balboa. So this is my sensor tower down here, but he's doing a good job of having spacing around the map of sensor towers and knowing where our armies are. But meanwhile, this was not a good base to take for TC up here. If he had taken one of these bases down here, I think he could have held it. But he's not going to be able to hold this base because the other armies aren't going to position themselves all down here. And even because of this threat, they're going to come up here now. But I don't know exactly what Berserk and Grunt are going to do. But the wisest thing is, if they see this army, to not engage it right now until we can all get together. So we'll see what they do. Meanwhile, I'm going to get some harassment going. I have this base. I'm sure I'm setting sights on taking another base down here. But I'm going to, since all of their army was pulled to the top, I'm going to get down here and do some damage to Yellow. He's down to 34 drones after the drones that my Hellions were able to just kill. And then I was watching this and I spotted all of those workers flew away because Grunt had driven them away with his swarm hosts, and now I'm going to catch all those workers for the orange Protoss, get him down to 7 workers. So I don't know where Grunt's swarm hosts went. There's one there. Here they are. So that was huge, and now he's going to kill this base probably. And meanwhile, now Coaster Board, this is what you want in a team game. Coaster Board moved to the top, didn't end up defending up there, so they got nothing out of that. Now he's cutting back here to try to push me back. Now he's moving up here, and they're not getting anything out of this. They've lost economy, and they haven't gotten anything in terms of killing us. That's what Balboa is trying to do right now. But basically, at this point, I've been left alone for too long. My supply is at 134, but a mech 134 supply is a very solid army. I have 1-2 on my upgrades. I don't know what he has. He has 1-2 as well. And so I'm going to have a really solid army. This is a pretty reasonable defense as far as efficiency goes. And so I'm going to stay at 133 supply and look at our army supply versus theirs. Oh wow, Orange is out of the game. Grunt's work on him, in addition to me catching all his workers, meant that he's not going to be able to replenish his army. And now we have some harass happening here on the top. Grunt is keeping tabs on what their army's doing over here. Meanwhile, Berserk and I are over here pushing on coaster board. There go TC leaves the game. He has nothing left. Let's check. Nice upgrades out of Berserk. So 2-1 for our opponent versus 2-2 out of Berserk. 2-2 for me. We are fighting together against this one army. Balboa's got to stay up here or lose his bases. So meanwhile, we're just bullying back coaster board, bullying him back to where basically, I don't know what he has left, but it's 36 drones. Oh, wow. He has to have more than 36 drones. How does he not have more? Does he have... Oh, he's producing roaches, yeah. Not much. So finally, Balboa is going to come down here and try to push us back, but I have a mech army versus his bio army. He wanted to meet me in open territory, not when I was encroaching on their bases. Coaster board's out of the game. Balboa's going to try, since he has 157 supply. Now I remember very well what Grunt did here. He sacrificed his supply so that he could, he basically let his whole army die so that he could tech switch. And where is his army? Oh, into these. Yes, 32 mutas. And they are, they're about to maraud through the base, and with that, we do win this game. So this one goes better for us. And this is all we're going to have today. Wanted to put out these games. These are a lot of fun. Team games in Starcraft are a blast. They're often unpredictable like this and hard to predict, hard to manage. So thanks for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you next time for The Rush.